Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Includability Shorts, a series of short, snappy chats stuffed with hot tips from our incredible partner experts. I'm delighted to be joined this morning by the wonderful Elizabeth Cann, performance and leadership coach, supporting businesses to achieve sustainable high performance within the workplace. Liz, it's so great to see you as always, and it would be wonderful just to learn from you more around psychological safety at work, the value of that, and the impact, of course, that can create for people.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. So, psychological safety, I think it is so crucial, so important. Ultimately, what it is where people feel safe to be their authentic selves in the workplace. They feel free to speak up, to share their ideas without that fear of being judged or embarrassed or punished in some kind of way. And interestingly, it's one of the number one predictors of high performing teams and that predictor of high performance within a team. And what it really does is it improves innovation, and it also increases retention and engagement because people feel less stressed, they feel less anxious, and they just basically have an overall better sense of well-being in the workplace. So I'll get into those tips. So the first tip is reframing failure as data collection. So almost have a think about running a blameless retrospective in a way. If you've got somebody who has put themselves up to a task, maybe it doesn't quite work out, start with thanking them in the first place for putting themselves on the line and for doing that, but have that focus on process rather than people. So then we're really focusing on what's happened, what can we learn, rather than who can we blame. And that really increases that calculated risk taking, and then increases innovation ultimately in the end. Our second tip is about leader vulnerability. The leader must go first. Just start by owning a small miss that you've had. You could start your meeting off with that, something that maybe could have gone a little bit better, something that you've learned, because that closes the power gap, but it also sets the scene that it's okay to be imperfect. We're all perfectly imperfect, but it gives the space for that. And it means that transparency is then rewarded, which is super important in the workplace. Our third tip is what I call the 7-second rule for questioning. I like this one because if a leader is asking a question to the team, most of the time that silence will be filled within 2 to 3 seconds if nobody answers. So if you allow them, what that does then is it stops the introverts and the deep thinkers from having an opportunity to speak, because that is when they're sitting and formulating their thoughts. So it's okay for it to be a little bit uncomfortable, for that silence to maybe edge on feeling slightly awkward, because that's the point where those introverts and deep thinkers will have a chance to pipe up and say what they want to say. And what that then does is it creates a space for everyone to have the chance to be heard, not just the louder, more forthcoming people. And then that really creates deeper inclusion as well within that environment. And then we've got our fourth tip, which is about asking for input with humility. Obviously, there has to be a genuine opening for input. So you're not going to do this when the door is closed on having any input. But when you've got a plan, maybe consider asking, what's the biggest flaw that you see within this plan? If you ask a closed question, do you think this is okay? Chances are you might just get a yes. But if you're asking that open question, you're validating your team's expertise, and you're creating a situation where challenging the status quo is contribution, not conflict. And then we've got our fifth tip for psychological safety, and that is establishing team norms for conflict. So we can't assume that everybody has a clear understanding on how to handle conflict, or that everybody is on the same page. So just think about having 1 to 2 ground rules for how we deal with conflict, maybe going by the notion that we debate ideas, not people. And that means that conflict can lead to better solutions, better resolution, better innovation, because you're not It doesn't put the relationship at risk. It's just about the ideas. So these are my top tips for psychological safety in the workplace that allow everybody to just relax a little bit more. You see those shoulders go down, a sigh of relief, and you just really watch everyone in the team start to open up, and you see the best of them coming out.
Liz, that is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, and a joy to catch up and learn from you as always. And to everyone who's just watched our latest Includability short, thank you so much for joining us. And for more lightbulb moments, please do head over to weareincludability.co.uk. And in the meantime, let's keep learning, let's keep growing, and let's keep making our workplaces more inclusive, diverse, and mentally healthy together. Have a fantastic day, everyone.